Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Micah and today I'm going to be doing a full face of Maybelline for you. And it feels like ages since I sat down and filmed a makeup look for you, which actually isn't true because I think I did a get ready with me like 2 weeks ago. It's just that because I wasn't feeling very well last week, I didn't really sit down and film. So that's why I decided to film this full face right now, which is of course something that I haven't done for a hot minute because in the month of August, I was only talking about eyeshadow palettes, so I didn't really do a full face of a particular brand of makeup. But I have been doing these all year, in case you were wondering. So if you'd like to see my thoughts on ColourPop, Catrice, Essence, what else did I do? Makeup Revolution. I did a full face of Asian makeup brands, and I also did a full face of e.l.f. So a lot of affordable ones, and I did one with Urban Decay products, so that's the only high-end one I've done so far. So we're going to keep that train moving, and we're going to talk about Maybelline, which, to be quite honest, is actually one of my favorite drugstore brands. And that's because I feel they have a good range of products, but also because they've really started to do shade ranges a little bit more, and I think they were one of the first brands to really understand that at a more affordable price point. So that's why we're talking about Maybelline. I've got a full face here. The only thing I don't have is eyeshadow primer and fixing spray, but everything else I have. So let's chat Maybelline. So I'm going to start with primer, and the primer I got here is the Face Studio Prime Protecting Primer with an SPF of 30. So I thought this could be nice because we're still sort of into summer right now, even though today is super gloomy and dark. And this is like a very hydrating feeling kind of primer. It is a bit pinky and then it looks okay. It's very sort of creamy feeling, not very silicone-y, not very thick. And I'm going to be applying this with my fingers because my primer brush fell apart. So I need to go in search of a new primer brush. So this primer feels very much like a moisturizer almost. It has that sort of like creamy texture, so it feels very nice to just rub it in. It has a very creamy, almost balmy kind of texture, and I find that it feels quite hydrating. My skin definitely absorbs this really nicely, and I do have to say that I bought it for this video, so I haven't given it a full swing on like a full day of wear time to see how it wears down, but so far, I'm quite happy with this, and I'm quite surprised. This is actually one that I think I'll rotate into a Shop My Stash at some point in the future to make sure I can get more use out of it. Now, this is not a Maybelline product, so I'm quickly going to be priming my eyelids with the Lorac, what's this called again? Behind the Scenes eyeshadow primer. For foundation, I'm going to go in with the only Maybelline foundation I currently have, and that is the Dream Radiant Liquid Hydrating Foundation. This was marketed as a new product in the US, but here in Europe, it's been marketed as a replacement for the Dream Satin Liquid. And that was a foundation that I really liked, but it didn't really come in my shade. The lightest shade available to me here in the Netherlands was a little bit too dark, and now that they've redone the foundation, they've also updated the shade range, which I was very happy to see. I do have to say though that Maybelline Dream Liquid was like, Dream Satin Liquid was like one of the first drugstore foundations I tried like 6-7 years ago. And so I'm not entirely sure anymore how it feels, but to me, in my memory, this isn't the exact same foundation. So why are they marketing it as a alternative or the updated version of over here? I'm not really sure. To me, it feels like a different foundation. And I already reviewed this and I wasn't a huge fan. I think I like the Fit Me one better, but we're gonna go with this because this is the one I have. It is nicely hydrating, but I don't know I'm not sure. I wasn't a really big fan of the Dream Urban Cover either that they did before this. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just falling out of love with Maybelline foundations because they used to make some of my favorite drugstore foundations, but currently I'm not a huge fan. So what shade is this in? This is in shade 03 True Ivory, and it may be a little bit light for the center of my face, but I'm quite fair as you can see. So that's why I always go with a shade that's perhaps a little lighter than you might expect. So as you can see, this is not the most like heavy coverage foundation on the planet by no means. It's more like a light to buildable medium coverage. And I like that it's pretty nice and dewy on the skin right now, but I just felt that as it wore throughout the day, it just made my skin look a little bit cakey and very makeup-y, which I don't remember the Dream Liquid's satin liquid to do, so that's a bit of a shame. For concealer, I've got two options, but one of them is unopened, so I'm gonna keep it unopened. And it's also an older concealer, but I just wanted to talk about it because who remembers the Fit Me Concealer by Maybelline and how much everybody raved about this back in the day? I definitely bought my first one in the US because it took ages for this product to make it to the Netherlands. I think we've only had this for about like a year or two now. And I definitely did repurchase it when I was in the Netherlands. So I was like, I just want to have this concealer on hand. This is a very nice, lightweight, light coverage concealer. I just need to get back to it at some time and open this one up. But yeah, it's one of those concealers, you know, there's a couple of products where I'm like, ooh, I love you, and I just always want to have it on hand. And then you try new stuff and you end up forgetting about this one. But it's a good one still, till this day. However, the Superstay Full Coverage Under Eye Concealer by Maybelline is one that I tried a lot in the springtime, and I quite like the product. I'm not a big fan of this tube-like packaging because what I feel happens for me is that the doe foot sits into this container that is actually a little bit too wide, and it's quite a thick concealer, so the product is very much stuck to the sides. So you really need to sort of like dig in there in order to get product out, and that also makes it quite messy because then you always end up with a bit too much and all that. So in the end, I stopped using it for that reason, so it's not my favorite, but I did use it for like a solid month or two, exclusively this one. And for something from the Superstay line, see, now I'm pulling it out and there's absolutely no product on the doe foot. And if I start running this thing around, a lot of product actually gets on the wand, which the stopper then doesn't pull off. So let me see if I can get something out. See, there's hardly anything on there. So maybe it's almost gone, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one packaging wise, but the concealer itself is nice. Oh, and this is in the shade Fair 10. All right, so that's the concealer done. So overall, I think this is the kind of coverage that I like, nothing too heavy. This concealer looks really nice under the eye as well, so that's great. And I know some people may want to say in the comments like, hey, can't you cut this open and then you can take most of the product out? However, I have no clue how much product is still left in this tube, and I have the feeling that I have only used about half. And if there's still like half of this product in here and I cut it open and it gets exposed to air, I'm afraid that it's gonna go bad before I can use it up. So I know I can cut this open and get the use out of it that way, but because it will then just sit there, I hope that, you know, if maybe at some point if I truly want to make an effort of using this up, I could do that, but then I would have to power through it in about 2 weeks before it goes bad. So not a fan of that because I don't use that much concealer. Next up is powder, and I've got two options here, but I know which one I want to use. I tried lots of different loose powders summer of 2019, so I did a video about that, so I'll make sure to link that in the eye. And one of the powders I tried in that video is the Maybelline Fit Me powder. Spoiler alert, it was one of my least favorites in that video, so I decluttered that one. So if you're wondering why don't you have that, because I didn't like it. It's not dry skin friendly. So that's why I do have two other powders by Maybelline. I have the Master Fix and I have the Fit Me Matte and Poreless, so the pressed one. And that's the one I will be using. The Master Fix I've used quite a few times, but I'm not a huge fan. I find it's a bit faffy, and because it is a white powder, I feel it leaves too much of a white cast. So I'm not a huge fan. The Fit Me is in the shade Natural Ivory, so this has a bit more of a shade to it, and that's why I want to use this right now. I also like the pressed version better than the loose powder version, probably because it's easier for me to control how much product I apply, and I don't have to like dust things away. So that's why with this, all I do is that, and then just use a very very light hand to put it on, and I feel that that works really well. So this is a nice powder for sure, and I'd like to get some more use out of it, but I currently have lots of powders to try and play with, so that's a bit of a shame. Moving on then to brows, and these are, again, some OG favorites that I feel I've sort of gotten over. So these are products that I've had in my collection for a long time, or I think I went through 2 of these brow pencils in the past. I did notice, however, when I went to repurchase it for this video, that they now do a shade called Light Blonde, which is great because one of the reasons that I didn't like the other one very much anymore is because I felt the shade was a bit too dark for my like ashy blonde sort of brows. So for me, the shade was never perfect, and then I found other brow pencils that I felt worked better. So I'm very curious to see how this will go. It definitely looks a lot more like something that I might like. However, another reason why I'm no longer a fan of this product, what's the official name? The Brow Satin in Light Blonde. It's a very thick pencil as well, so it's not very easy to get a very precise line with this. So for filling it in, it's fine. And the little powder in the tip, I've never used that. Like I only ever use the pencil side of this. So this, I like that they have a different shade, but this is no longer my favorite product. But hey, I now have it. I will use it up at some point. See how this is just not a good shade? It's very orange. And that's my gripe with the other shade as well. Like this is just not ashy enough to really, you see that difference? Like you see how much warmth there is in that brow. That's why it's not my favorite. All right, so I now feel that you can really sort of see what is my natural brow and what is pencil. So I'm gonna go in with the Brow Drama in Dark Blonde. And this is a brow gel that I used to like. It has this really weird ball, but that makes it quite precise for where you want it to go. And this does have a good shade that is a bit more ashy. So I feel that this kind of like color corrects the warmth of the pencil, but you know, not enough. Like look at how much, like my brows just look almost red. Not a good look. So Maybelline brow products used to be favorites, but nowadays, not my favorite anymore because I just have found better options for me, but for this video, I wanted to use them. What I do really like, but I haven't used it in a while, is their City Bronzer. I have this in the shade Medium Warm 250, and this is actually quite a yellow tone bronzer, which at the drugstore can be pretty hard to find. And I love this. Like when I first bought this, like when did I buy this? I think about a year ago, and I went to town on this thing. So I haven't used it in a while, so it's really nice to revisit this. It's definitely one that when I ranked my bronzers last year, I think I put it in my top 3. So this is definitely a solid favorite, but if you haven't used the product for a while. Oh yeah, see, this is why I love it. Gives you just that sun-kissed look, but it's nothing too crazy. Really nice for like the spring summer season, so it's perfect for this time of year. Now for highlighter, I again have 2 options, and one of these was in my declutter because I'm going to get rid of it once I've done this video, and that is the Master Strobing Liquid. And the reason why I'm getting rid of it is not because I don't like it, it's just you get so much product in this thing. How much is this? Oh, there's a sticker over it. 25 milliliters for a liquid highlighter that is super duper intense and crazy. Like that's a full-on swatch. You really need to work this into the skin, and when you do, it does leave a very nice like glass-like finish. It's just that this is also quite pink, and I'm not a huge fan anymore of pink highlighters, but I just thought I could show you this product. It is really lovely. It has a really nice texture. This beats high-end liquid highlighters for me till this day. It just, the shade isn't perfect, but it's got a really nice shine. So when I was looking like if there were any other Maybelline products that I wanted to try for this video, I thought I have never used this before. And this is the Face Studio Chrome Jelly Highlighter. So this is making me nervous. What is the shade? Metallic Rose. I think they also do a gold, but I thought this would probably suit my skin tone better. And it's one of those like jiggly, kind of products. And this is definitely a lot darker than the other one. Let me see if I can swatch it next to it. So this is a lot more golden toned. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's also, well, not more subtle because it's definitely still like pretty intense, but do you see how it just has a very different undertone? So it's not as blinding. And I am currently not into super blinding, like that super metallic kind of thing. Like this is more up my street, and I felt that this might go a little bit better with my complexion, and especially because I do have a little bit of a tan now that, you know, we're at the end of summer and I've been outside a little bit, so I definitely don't, like, I'm darker than I usually would be. So this would be more of a, like a wintertime thing, whereas this thing would be more of a summertime highlight. So I think I'll try a brush first. No, I want to use another brush. I want to use another brush. Oh yeah, this one. So I'm going to use an e.l.f. small stipple brush because I feel that that usually works really well with liquid products. It's a bit much. Let's tap it off in the lid. And we're just going to tap it in. Woo! And then I think I'll just use my fingers to see if I can even it out. Oh no, I'm going to use my sponge. So there you have that glow. It looks much more natural in the viewfinder than it does in real life. Like in real life, I can definitely see this like very strong golden undertone that's now very much lying on top of my skin, and then a little bit of shine. But on camera, this is looking very pretty. So yeah, not sure this is my favorite product, but I just wanted to try something new for the video, and yeah, we'll see. Another category of products that I had never used before by Maybelline is a blush. So I got myself a Fit Me blush in the shade Nude. This is what it looks like. It looks a little darker in the pan. I used this once and I felt it went on lighter than what it looks like in the pan. So that's a bit of a shame. I like blushes that have more of a true color payoff. So is this blush my new favorite blush? By no means. I think the shade is very boring. It very much reminds me of a blush shade that my mom used to wear in the 80s. So this is not, like, I like the sleek packaging. It has a really pretty look, but it's a bit warm for what I usually go for. I like something a bit more mauve-y. So maybe I'll just pass this on to my mom. I'm not sure if she still wears blusher, but if she does, she might like this kind of shade because not really for me. So I quickly prime my eyelids with the MAC Paint Pot and Painterly in a Body Shop cream shadow so that I can put this all over my lid and have my lids blocked out for the next step, which would be eyeshadow. And this is going to be the quickest eyeshadow tutorial on the planet because from Maybelline, one of the areas that I feel they need to improve is eyeshadow. I am not a fan of Maybelline eyeshadows. There, I said it. But what they do really well is cream shadows. So I've got a couple of color tattoos here. Some of these are a bit old and they are actually on my declutter after this video pile. But one of them I bought new for the video. That is one that I used to have. So I'm gonna use that one. But the shades I still have, just to show you, I've got the shade in Pink Gold. This is probably super dry, so I hope I can still swatch it, but it's this really nice pinky shade. And this is the one that I use the most back when these were like really a thing. Like, this is so dry, but it still works. And I used to put this all over my eye. Again, something this pink I just don't use anymore. It's a bit similar to that highlighter, I would say. It's very pink, but it does have a really nice sheen. So when I was using this, I was using it very much like I now use my ColourPop Super Shocks, where I just use a little layer of this all over my lid and I'm out the door. I also have a limited edition from the US here, which is called Black Orchid. And this has always been quite dry. Like, from the moment I bought it, it's almost as if someone had opened it in store perhaps to see what the shade was like. This is super dry. But this was very pretty because it was this like plummy gray kind of shade. So again, for that one shadow look, this was perfect. It's very similar to one of my favorite shades that I have in a single pan that I very often use for that single shadow look, which is by Burberry, which is called, what's the shade called again? It's like a rosy taupey kind of shade. I can't think of it, but I really like it. I think I have a video using it up on my channel. Maybe I can find it. And then one that I just can't myself to get rid of is Light in Purple. And Light in Purple, ooh, this is still looking pretty okay. And this is like a blue to purple shift kind of thing. So this is really pretty, very special. And I don't feel like I really have anything else like it. So that's why I'm sort of hanging on to this. I know you can revive these with like baby oil, I believe. So maybe I want to try it with this one, but the other ones just aren't special enough. The one that we're gonna be using is a matte, and it's in Taupe Trap, because they also did some matte ones, and this is brand new because these were relaunched, at least over here. So this is where we have Taupe Trap. Here they were definitely gone for a little while, which was a bit of a shame. So what I'm going to do is the way I always use these, especially the matte ones. I'm just going to go in with my finger, and then I'm going to use a Sigma P82, which is this like finger-like brush, and that's what I'm going to use to blend out the edges. Quickly apply my setting spray, which I'm still using it up. Like I thought there's like one use left, but no, this is the setting spray that keeps on giving. It's in a different bottle, but this is the e.l.f. Dewy Setting Mist, in case you're wondering. I'm not exactly sure where my camera cut off, but I was doing mascara, and I just used the Maybelline Lash Sensational mascara. Love Maybelline for mascara, but I think my favorite is the Falsies Lash Lift that they released earlier this year. Got 2 of those in backup. This is a nice one too. And then I topped it off with my Catrice Glam and Dull Mascara Waterproof. I always like combining a more volumizing mascara with a waterproof one by Catrice, always this one, because I feel it sort of separates my lashes better and everything stays put. Now for lips, I have several options for lips, because if there is an area that I do really think Maybelline excels at is doing lipsticks. However, one of their most recent releases, the lip crayons from the Superstay line, I have 2 of these colors and I've used them a few times, and I think they're a bit drying and they're not my favorite. I also found the shade range of this to not be as exciting as I am about some of the other shade ranges that they do. I have this in Make It Happen and Life on the Edge. So the red is Make It Happen, and this was actually one that I really wanted to try. Looks like a really nice like berry red kind of shade, but it's not perfect for me. And then the nude is just a little bit too dark for my liking, so I kind of hung on to these to try them over the fall time. So going into this season, I'm gonna have to put them into a Shop My Stash again, but these are my favorites. An area that I really like from Maybelline is from their Superstay line, but it's their liquid lipsticks. And the shade Pioneer is one of my favorite liquid lipsticks in a red, and it's very affordable at the drugstore. So can't go wrong with a really nice, lovely matte red lipstick. I also really like the shade Romantic, which is this really nice, like bright blue tone pink. And then they also did some more unusual shades. I used to have tons of these, but I decluttered a lot because I'm not really using liquid lipsticks anymore. But Visionary is this like purpley gray shade, which is very different. Really nice cool tone, and I like doing a cool tone lip from time to time, so this is definitely for the winter time. I would like to go back to like these more out there kind of shades. And then I have Heroine, which is like a really bright, punchy orange that I love. So oranges are very hard to get by, especially from the drugstore, so I love that they did these more unusual shades as well as some really good classics. But the one I want to use is going to be one of my like bullet lipsticks, because that's what I like the most. I've got some darker shades that I like to wear in like the fall winter season. This is Burgundy Blush, and I remember a couple of years ago I almost decluttered this, and then I sort of pulled it out of my declutter, and then I started wearing it again, and I was like, ooh, that's really nice. It's quite similar to MAC's Sin, but I feel that this is a bit more red. But it's definitely like a very deep, vampy shade. And then I also have Midnight Merlot, and this has a bit more of a sheen. So the other one is a matte, and this is a bit more plummy. So Burgundy Blush is more red toned, whereas Midnight Merlot is more like a wine color shade and it has that plummy undertone. So I do really like those, but since I have such a basic eye on, I want to go for something bright. And one of my favorite shades for the fall time is this really nice magenta shade called Mesmerizing Magenta, which is now right there. This is such a lovely shade. I wear this so much. I think I have like an Urban Decay or a Fenty Beauty shade that is very similar, but the one I want to put on right now is a red and it's all fired up. And this is one of my favorite pink toned reds. So pink toned reds can be quite hard to come by because they sometimes skew a little too pink, but I feel that this is still a red when I put it on. So let me slap it on. So there you have all fired up. And I like how this is like super bright, super punchy. It's one of those shades with which I'm just going to say, please don't let summer be over just yet. Can we have a few more nice days? That would be lovely. But yeah, that's also the end of this video. Those are all of the products I had to show you from Maybelline that I have in my collection. So I hope you enjoyed this grand old chat about all things Maybelline. Please stay tuned if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 note videos a week, and if you could thumbs up this video if you liked it, that would definitely help me out to spread the word. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!